Welcome to Blitz. I'm Brian Carter here at Rabun County High School with Lady Wildcats head coach DeeDee Dillard. DeeDee, thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate just getting to come hang out with you and talk about your team.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Seems like it's been a long time, but I guess it was about a year ago today that you were here. So
Every year it seems like about this time, and nothing changes because every time it seems like I come here, you're off to a great start, and this year's no exception. It should be no surprise because any team you've ever coached seems like you're always one of the tops in the state. This year, ranked number 2 in one poll, 4 in another, 8-1 start to the season. I imagine that I know you're not surprised because the goals are set pretty high here, but being that you turned over some great seniors from last year, is this start surprising at all to you?
maybe a little bit. I mean, you're never really sure how your kids are going to adjust once you lose. You know, we lost 5 seniors who contributed a majority of playing time to our team last year. So you're never really sure. I mean, we had a good summer, so I felt pretty good coming into the season. But once you put on the jerseys under the shiny lights, you just never really are positive how it's going to be. But I've been super proud of how my seniors, this year's seniors, have led. I mean, they've done a remarkable job getting our younger kids confident and ready to play. So I think, if anything, you can look to the leadership that this senior class has provided for our younger kids.
That is exactly where I was going next. You have 4 seniors, led by, of course, Savannah Scott, just scored her 1,000th career point, and we'll kind of talk about that more in just a moment with Savannah. But talk a little more about the groundwork that these seniors seem to lay year in and year out to kind of provide that road for the ones to follow after they move on.
Yeah, I don't know if I think it's just part of the system that I have. I tend to put a lot of responsibility on my seniors. They're involved. Starting in February of their junior year, they start making decisions for me as far as, camps, fundraisers, what we're going to do, those kind of things. They get to pick out, shoes and sweats. And more than that, I just encourage them to be invested in the lives of our younger kids. And, I've never had a senior class that hasn't done a good job with that. So I've been fortunate to have really good kids. I think that's part of it as well. But, I think it's just something just that you recognize that those seniors are going to have to step up, and so you start providing those opportunities early in the year. You don't wait until October. Like, they have to establish themselves as leaders pretty much as soon as their junior season is over. So that's what we try to do, just to hopefully ease that transition of losing seniors to a new leadership position for the upcoming seniors.
Well, and I got to say, you're very humble. That I know you say that you're blessed to have such great players, but also to have you as a coach definitely helps as well to see how this program has thrived. Going back to Savannah, just scoring her 1,000th career point early in the season, I believe she said she didn't even realize how close she was getting. She knew she was kind of in the ballpark, but what was that experience like for you, and kind of keeping that from her, and what was that moment like for you as a coach when you get to see a player accomplish an individual milestone of that magnitude?
Yeah, and the thing about Savannah is she's really like a daughter to me. She spent a lot of time in my house growing up, and so, I was just thrilled for her. I knew coming into her freshman year that was an individual goal that she set. We allow our kids to set team goals and individual goals, and I knew for her that was something that she wanted to do. And I've only had 2 other players under my tenure who've accomplished that. So it was so exciting leading up to that game. Inside, every time she would miss a shot, I was like, oh, I need her to make that one. I'm ready. I'm ready to go ahead and let her reach that milestone. And I think, too, she was putting a little pressure on herself. She knew she was close, and so I think in a lot of ways I was excited, but I was always also relieved, because I wanted her to be able to relax and play. But I had told her parents how close she was. But I don't know. It's something I know some kids know ahead of time. For me, I try not to let that be a point of focus. I just want them to play. I'm not really sure what the right way to do that is, but it certainly was fun to surprise her that way, because she had no idea, that it was going to happen or when it was going to happen. So for me, it's a little bit of fun. So maybe I'm selfish to do it that way. I don't know.
I would agree with you. I've seen coaches do it both ways, and I like to see where the players are surprised because the coaches don't want that pressure added on that they know how close they are. Talk about, you kind of alluded to the fact that only 3 times now you've had a 1,000-point score, and that's kind of a testament to what kind of team you have, because even this year we're seeing it. It seems like any night, any of your girls can step up and lead this team. How hard does that make your team to stop?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully that makes it difficult for opposing teams to scout us. This year alone, we've had 8 different girls score in double figures. So, I've had great contributions coming from the bench. We have some young players coming in and playing some really, really good minutes. So hopefully it just allows them, it puts more pressure on the opposing team to kind of not have, okay, we got to stop this one or we have to stop this one. I think at any given night, just like you said, I have a number of girls who can step up and have a big game. Even if they do say shut Savannah down, I have other kids who can come in and score points for us. And not only score points, but rebound and do all the other little things as well. So hopefully that makes it a bit more challenging for the other teams.
And it seems like so far there hasn't been much of a challenge for you. Of course, you had the 1 loss, but knock on wood, I don't want to jinx you, but you're in the midst of a 6-game win streak, and it hasn't been close. When you win games, I think there was a 9-point win was your closest, and the average margin of victory, I did the math on this, 26 points. So how does that make your job as a coach easier when your team is blowing out the competition, and how do you gauge just how well your team is doing when you're getting those kind of scores?
Yeah, I actually think it makes my job a little harder because you don't know. You don't know how good you are. Is it the level of competition you're playing, or is it because you're really executing really well? I try to keep my girls grounded. We watch a lot of film, even in the games that we win, and we point out areas that we're going to have to improve in if we want to make a deep playoff run. That's obviously the goal for us this year, winning region again, and then making a playoff run that goes. We really would like to get past that Elite 8 hump, so to speak. So I don't know. I guess in some ways it's easier, but in some ways it's not, because I mean it's definitely something that you don't want the girls to get complacent and think that, oh well, we're okay, we don't have to work as hard, which I don't think I'll have a problem with this group, to be honest. They work extremely hard in practice every day, but I don't know. So to answer your question, does it make it easy? Does it make it hard? I don't know. I can see both sides of that depending on how you want to look at it.
I love what you said, too, about not getting complacent, and that's something I think rings true across the board here at Rabun, because Coach Shaw always says that complacency is a disease, and,
Yes.
and that's such a great way to put it, because you don't want to rest on your accomplishments before. But this program has been so successful since you've been here. 4 Elite 8 runs, like you said, getting over that hump is the next step. And so when you've seen this much success, you know what it takes, or what it's going to take, to be able to get to the Final Four of the championship. Do you feel like this team has what it takes to make that kind of run?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I think we do. I think we have. I think we're not as deep in terms of, I don't have the 10 or 11 kids I can go to consistently like I did last year. But at the same time, the 8 or 9 that I do play, like I said before, they're capable all of scoring and putting up big numbers. So, I think we're a little skinny on the post. I'm not as deep in the post, and if there were one area that I think that we're vulnerable at, it's not that my post players aren't playing well, because they are. We just don't have very many of them. We're a very guard-oriented team, so that's been effective as far as our press goes and our defensive pressure. But in terms of like in the offensive set or the half-court defensive sets, sometimes that poses a little bit of problem for us. So I think if we have a couple of really young posts in our freshman class that we're trying hard to develop, and I think if they can step up and just get to the point by January, February that we can put them in the game for a minute here or a minute there, when Tessa and Jaden and Jordan and some of those girls maybe are fatigued or in foul trouble, I mean that's going to go a long way for us. So.
Well, great coach, great players. Sounds like you got a great recipe this year for another great run. And I'm really thinking this is the year you get to the Final Four, or even hopefully further, bring a trophy home. But thank you so much for your time. Always appreciate it. And I look forward to what the rest of the season has in store for you.
All right. Thanks so much, Brian.
Make sure you check out our interview also with senior Savannah Scott here on BLITZ.